done a lot of layout updates lately, because I've been working so much in the layout, I've added a whole bunch. The cold weather here has really just given me a lot more motivation to work on the layout, and the fact that it's like somewhat done. Well, it's not done, but it's looking like it's more done than it has in the past. It's just more motivating to get work done. So actually, I'll start really with the overview of this side of the layout. And the only big thing here, well, I guess it's only one big thing, but it's a pretty big thing, is the addition of all these backdrops here. Now, you might be thinking, when you look at the layout here, this is, my eye level. It does obscure part of the layout to have these backdrops here, but it does, but to me, I like it a lot more because it allows for scenic dividers, and these scenic dividers have allowed now to incorporate and build some brand new scenes I haven't had before. And it also hides the fact this layout is a loop. I mean, obviously it's pretty obvious layout is a loop, but I think having these scenic dividers here when you're videoing or photographing or just generally viewing the layout from an area like this, you can no longer see that gigantic, unrealistic 180-degree curve. And I'm especially in O scale. This is like an 072 curve here. And I do feel that running any kind of steam engine really, especially an engine that's a little bit larger like a Berkshire, where you have that big swing and you can see like the cab, from looking at it right about here, you can see like the cab as it's going around the curve. I don't like how that looks. It's just too sharp. So I think this significantly helps it, and this over here, and then, this scene over here. It does help to kind of hide the fact that it's a sharp curve. So, so anyway, I like how it looks, and you can still, go underneath and view the layout from over here. Here's a look over at that side. We'll go over there more in a little bit, but anyway, on this side here, I have been working on the backdrops. This is the only one that's painted right now over here. The rest of them are put up, and they're not painted yet, and I'll talk about that in a second. Over here, I have this one installed, and then that's just laying there. I got to get like probably 1 or 2 more sheets of hardboard to have enough. You see I'm also missing over there, but I'm making good progress on it. Now this one here you'll see is lower, and these are higher. That was an oversight. I'm going to fix that later. I'll bump this thing up so it matches the rest of the height over here. And all of these here are just the brown hardboard. They're not painted yet, and that's for a specific reason. That's because all of these seams here, I'm going to probably put drywall tape over them and then run some joint compound over it, sand it smooth, and then I'll paint them, because there's a lot of joints in here, and I don't want to paint it as it is because you can see the joints, and it actually looks a little better on the camera than it does in person. I don't know, at least to my eye, they're pretty noticeable, and I want to smooth them out, so that'll be, that's going to be coming. And then the blue paint that I have over there, that was a custom mix I made out of acrylic. I did get some new paint from Lowe's or something, this one here. Oops, here we go. There's that engine I'm working on. I'm waiting to get my blue dummy board died, so it's back at Soundtracks right now getting repaired, and then I'll get it back together. So I'll have more on that later. Anyway, this is the blue paint I bought. It's from Lowe's, I think. I don't know, maybe Home Depot. It's called Rain Dance, and it's like a whitish blue. It looks more white here in camera. It looks more like an off-white on my camera. It is a little more blue than it looks. I don't know. I'm going to try it because I'm still not totally in love with these backdrops. Just as far as the coloring goes and things. So I'm going to try a different shade of blue and see how it works. And, that's a sample that I have over there, and this costs like $3. So I'll always, or if I don't like how that looks, I can just go and buy another one and just kind of keep fiddling with it. I mean, this isn't necessarily bad, but I'm just not in love with it. So it is what it is. Anyway, with the addition of these backdrops here, the big thing that has allowed me to do is I've talked about these new scenes. And so I have 2 new scenes here in this backdrop here. And you can see here they are. I'm going to start over here first. This is the Ohio Turnpike Interstate 80, I think. I'm pretty sure it's 80. Excuse me. Where it crosses over the tracks just west of Avery, Ohio. So this will be west of Lorain, between Lorain and Bellevue. This is where I-80 crosses over the tracks. And it's a 2-lane highway. It was built I don't know when it was built, probably about 1955, 56 or so. There's a photo of a Berkshire coming underneath this exact overpass. And that would have been 1957, I think. So I know it existed at least in this era that I'm modeling, so that's why I did it. And these are my own design here, these highway bridges. They're not done yet. They're a work in progress, but they've come out really, really well. Now, this is actually 2 layers. I think it's a half sheet of plywood, and then down below is actually a piece of like crown molding. And I picked that piece specifically, so I can get the camera underneath here. You can see it has like that nice ribbing to represent like the I-beams. It's not totally exact, but if you get down to like this level here and look up, I think it looks good enough. And I was pretty satisfied. I found that I was able to do that. I think it looks pretty good. It was a lot easier than trying to do it on myself to try and kit bash something. So it looks pretty good. And then these are just some wood cylinder pieces that I cut to size. And I also have some more half-inch plywood, like where the piers connect to the bridge itself. And yeah, it came out really nice. I'm really happy with it. You can see I have both lanes are underneath here. I think it looks great. And then up top, where I have the cars here sitting temporarily, the whole thing is just kind of sitting here right now. I'm going to put probably a layer of like foam core on top of this, which is the same kind of thing I have on this road here. So I'll put a layer of foam core on top of it, paint that, add the lines and whatnot. And then I'll also put some like girder style siding, you know, some kind of side on the bridge too. So this is not the finished state, and it needs painted too, so I'll paint everything. So this isn't the finished state, but it certainly looks better than having nothing here at all. I think it looks pretty good. And just for fun, I also made this little sign, little overpass sign with an exit sign, and that's actually a real sign that's on this part of the turnpike. If you go, this would be the westbound lane. So if you're going westbound, there's an exit here for Sandusky and Norwalk on US 250 here, just a mile ahead from here. That's an actual sign that's there today. I don't know if it existed in the 50s, but I put it here anyway. And I based it off the modern day sign, but that is the older style like nameplate for the US roads back at that time, where it has the Ohio on it. So that is somewhat accurate. And again, I kind of freelanced it, but it has some real world, it draws some things from the real world, so it's close enough. And I think it looks pretty good, so adds a nice touch. And I really like the signs. I think it adds a nice idea of location, so you know where this is, and it's not just, you know, anywhere USA. So I think it looks pretty good. And once I get this all plastered up and painted and all the scenery, I think it's going to look great. So this is really I think it's a really nice looking scene here. Now I see I did some damage here. The signals turn sideways and all that. I'll fix that later. But just an overall view, if you look at it here, I think it looks pretty good. And like I said, I love that you can no longer see the 180-degree curve. I think it looks great. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'll address this real quick. This alien-looking structure here, this is a mock-up structure for a high-tension tower. It's going to be coming here. My brother's working on it. This is just a mock-up he made just to see how it would compare size-wise. The final iteration is going to be slightly taller and obviously a different shape and far more detailed, but there will be a high-tension tower here in Lorraine. Aside from that, nothing really is new aside from the backdrops, and I think that's it. Here's and then my last layout update where I was talking, I did talk about the Lorraine Lumber Company sign. That's going to go on top of this once I paint the roof, and it's like 9 degrees outside, so I can't quite do it yet, but that's going to go here eventually. Also, I don't know if I addressed these signals. These signals are new as well. They're still missing lenses, but they are lit, so I have eastbound and westbound signals. Okay, now I'm going to underneath the layout here. And you can see it's definitely a little more of a canyon here with all these backdrops, but again, whatever. On the other side of the backdrop here, I put another bridge in, and this new scene is going to represent Blaisdell, I think is how it's pronounced. It's either it looks like it's spelled Blasdell. It's Blasdell, but I think it's pronounced Blaisdell if I'm correct. And Blaisdell is a location on the outskirts of Buffalo. It's on the east side of Buffalo. And it was an important spot in the nickel plate. It was the beginning of CTC controlled trackage, manual block operation of the nickel plate and Pennsy joint main line from here to Brockton, which was 49 miles to the west. And so I've modeled, I've compressed 49 miles of track between what's going to be Blaisdell up to Brockton, where the Pennsy diverged down the Oil City, PA, and the nickel plate continued west along the lake. Anyway, here at Blaisdell, there's a tower here. It was called GB Tower, and it was a Pennsy Tower. And there's also a crossover here with the Erie. I'm not going to have the crossing, but anyway, there's a tower here. It was called GB Tower. I think my plan's to put GB Tower. My model is going to fit somewhere in this area. It's going to be a small building. The real building was a single level. It was fairly similar to BM Tower over there. My shadow's in the way. So GB Tower is going to sit right about here. And then I built this bridge, kit past this bridge here. And this is a real bridge here at Blaisdell. It was right about in this angle here. And the bridge is still there. It's still there today with the NS. But I don't know what the history in this bridge is. When I look at Google Maps, it looks like it comes off of what's now the CSX, which had been the former New York Central. So if I had to guess, it's some New York Central bridge that came off of their main and went somewhere into Buffalo. So anyway, I modeled it. And the bridge looks pretty close to this. And for a while, I struggled on what bridge to use, because there's not a lot of commercially available products in O scale to build bridges and things like there is in HO or even N scale, which is kind of frustrating. But anyway, I wasn't sure what to use. It's a pretty small bridge, and it's a double truss structure like this. But I had an old Lionel, I think it's called a truss extension bridge, like a little 10-inch bridge from a starter kit from years and years ago I had in storage. So I pulled that out, and I put it up here, and I actually didn't think it looked all that bad. And so I figured I'd give it a shot. I went to my hobby store and I bought a second one for like $12. And so just like that, I put them together, and it actually didn't look that bad. And I also painted them flat black. I added a walkway on this side with some railing, if you can see. And then I put the bridge on the bridge. I put on some Atlas track, and I gotta say, it actually looks pretty good. If you look at it from a certain angle, you can tell the bridges are definitely small. But most of the time, you'd be viewing it from like here, and I think it looks fine. And especially when I add some weathering to it, and it's complemented with the nicer looking track as well as some like appropriate abutments and piers. I think it actually looks pretty good. So I was pretty happy with it. It was a nice low budget effort. It only cost me the cost of the plywood, which I use for all kind of stuff. The plywood went up to the highway bridge over there and here. With the cost of the plywood, there's a spare piece I had sitting out behind the shed. And then the cost of one bridge in the track, this whole thing probably cost me like $30. And it came out really, really good. I'm really happy with it. I also built some abutments here on both sides, and some fill and approaches on both sides as well. So you can see I do have the plaster cloth in there. I have to add sculpt mold and then scenery. So I'll have to go to my hobby store and buy some sculpt mold. And then I'm also going to probably redo the fascia, so it'll follow the contour of the hillside here and then come up and over and then back down. So you can see that's why I have not done anything over here, because that's going to be sculpt molded, or that's going to be with the fascia up to it, so it'll help to hide it. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it looks pretty good, and for what it is, I think it came out quite good. And when you factor in GB Tower here, it's going to look quite nice. So I'm really happy with it. And then also, this is the Pensy, like I said, Chautauqua branch here. So I'm thinking I have the nickel plate. I might combine my GB and BM scene sort of into one proto freelance scene, which means I might have the opportunity for some more unique signals here. So this whole thing is kind of like one faux interlocking. So you see I have the eastbound signal for BM, and here's a crossover. And then I also have the double bracket mast signal, the double bracket signal for the Pensy and nickel plate. This would be again for the eastbound signal, eastbound nickel plate signal, and then I guess the Pensy signal next to it. And then over here I have the westbound signal for the nickel plate, but I don't have any westbound signal for the Pensy. I think in real life there was a signal that faced the other direction that went this way. It was a westbound signal off the Pensy here. This would have been southbound on the Pensy. I might move that, and I'm thinking I might put a mast signal somewhere about the GB area, so maybe like here, or just beyond the bridge, somewhere here. In real life, they had a Pensy signal bridge here, and that's another consideration. I might kit bash a Pensy signal bridge and have it spanning both tracks here, but only have heads over the Pensy track. So I'm not totally sure yet, but I really like the idea of having signals in the layout. I just think it adds a nice sort of realism. Even if my signals don't operate 100% correctly, it does add a nice little ounce of realism. And just, I don't know, I feel like it's something that's overlooked in a lot of O-gauge layouts. So that'll be coming. But anyway, that's kind of the update of the layout right now. And it's, like I said, there's not like too much as far as the rest of the layout. The rest of the layout really hasn't changed all that much. Now, what will be coming is I finish the backdrops and things. But these two bridges here are my main reason I wanted to upload and just share what I was working on. So I'll have some more to share later. Again, I've been doing a lot of work on the layout. It's really coming along, and hoping to get these scenes finished up, buttoned up by Christmas, finish the backdrops, and then hopefully I can get started on these trees. That's my other big thing I want to do. I'm so tired of these things being brown. I think them being green is really going to transform the layout. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.